Yo, man, Whiskey your temperature by mechanics, aka Mr. Napper Boy. And today, man, we got baseball has a pitching problem. Let's get into the video.
Today's major league pitchers are throwing faster than ever before. Batters are striking out more than ever before. And injuries, well, they too are occurring more than ever before. Pitching wins championships. This old baseball quote was true some 100 years ago when it was first spoken, and has not and will not change. What has changed, however, is the manner in which teams approach pitching, the methods used to scout, train, and utilize.
Pitching does win games. It's the same thing how, how defense wins championships, you know what I'm saying?
Pitchers has shifted over the last 2 decades, drastically altering the game, and the result is clear. Baseball has a pitching problem. To truly understand the changes pitching methods has undergone in the last few decades, one must take a look back at the way pitchers approach pitching in the 80s and 90s. In general, analysts look at 3 factors when determining the quality of a pitch: velocity, movement, and accuracy. Velocity, of course, refers to the speed of the pitch. Movement refers to the way the ball moves after it's left the pitcher's hand, and accuracy refers not to whether the pitch was a ball or a strike, but instead to where the pitcher intended to throw the ball and where it was when it crossed the plate. These 3 attributes are essential to a quality pitch, and the 3 held equal importance throughout the majority of baseball's history. Sure, there were still dominant flamethrowers who could reach triple figures.
I really feel like the thing about pitching is I really feel like sometimes, like, when you pitch out, like, don't your arm get like tired of, like, sometimes you can hurt it if you use it too much, you know what I'm saying?
Figures such as Randy Johnson, but there were also more guys similar to Greg Maddux who would trade velocity for spin rate, which led to increased movement. Even though his fastball averaged less than 86 miles per hour near the end of his career, his movement and accuracy was among the best in the game, making him one of the greatest pitchers of his era and leading him into a Hall of Fame career. However, at the turn of the century, there was a fundamental shift in pitching methodology. Today, modern scouts all seem to have one key quality in mind when evaluating pitchers: their pitch speed. When Fangraphs first began recording pitch speed data back in 2002, the league average fastball was just 89 miles per hour. Of course, there were still guys lighting up the speedometer. Mets closer Armando Benitez threw a 102 mile per hour pitch that season, but as a whole, the average fastball speed was less than 90 miles per hour. With each passing season though, that average slowly began to increase. The average fastball reached 90.
It increases because, you know what I'm saying, the competition gets better, people start getting better, you know what I'm saying? From the newer generation, they start getting better and all that. So, of course, it's going to increase.
9 miles per hour in 2004, 91.2 in 2009, 92.1 in 2015, and 93.1 in 2020. Now, in 2023, the average fastball speed was 93.8 miles per hour, almost 4 miles per hour faster than it was 20 years prior. The increased velocity is not only apparent in fastballs, but all pitches across the board. The average slider speed was clocked in at 80.4 miles per hour in 2002. That grew to 84.5 miles per hour in 2023. An average curveball, that measured in at 75 miles per hour in 2002, and that was just under 80 miles per hour in 2023. Changeups, which averaged 79.5 miles per hour in 2002, increased to 85.5 miles per hour last season. Generally speaking, the climbing velocity is consistent through each season, and should the trend continue, the average fastball will likely be clocked in at 94 miles per hour as soon as the 2024 season. Along with increased velocity, pitchers and managers have also found an important strategy for improving pitching results: stats. When Billy Beane used advanced metrics to assemble his 2002 Oakland A's lineup, it sent shockwaves across.
Billy Beane, isn't that one movie? I forgot what movie was it? Was it Moneyball? Oh, that movie right there was good, but that movie right there, I think it was that movie.
The MLB. Since, franchises and ball clubs have turned to statistics to help make more informed and educated decisions about how to manage their team. The effect of this dependability is clear, as it is seen on a regular basis in almost every game. There has been an increased reliance on bullpen arms, as starters do not regularly go as deep into games as they once did. Managers have tended.
That's crazy, though. That's really, if you think about it, that's actually pretty, like, feel me? But, I mean, who really knows, though, you know what I'm saying?
to keep their starters on shorter leashes and have begun to rely more on their bullpen. They've leaned on pitcher splits and have begun to heavily rely on defensive shifts to keep the opposing offenses at bay. The increase in velocity, along with the greater emphasis on statistical analysis, has played a great effect on the game, as strikeouts are currently occurring at a historically high rate. Since the turn of the 21st
So is that a good thing or is that a bad thing that people are getting striked out and saying that at a high rate? Now, is that a good thing or a bad
century,
thing?
there has been a consistent rise in strikeouts, and thus a decline in hit. Understandably, hitters have struggled to maintain competitiveness against such high velocity. This trend reached its breaking point in 2018 when, for the first time in 115 years of the history in MLB, there were more strikeouts than hits across the league. What was more concerning, however, is that 2018 was not a fluke. That season, there were 189 more strikeouts than base hits, but that margin only grew in the years that followed. In 2019, there were 782 more strikeouts than base hits. Even with a shortened season in 2020, hurlers still outperformed batters by 1,144. In 2021, pitchers had a combined 2,644 more strikeouts than hits allowed. But why does this matter? Of course, in theory, pitchers today as a whole are performing at a higher level than ever before in the history of baseball. That is just the problem. Pitchers have become too good, which has had several unintended negative effects on the game.
So that's bad for the game if pitchers are getting better? So that's bad for the... Wait, so that's really bad for the game? Why do I feel like I'm dark? Hold on, yo. So that's really bad for the game if pitchers are getting better? How is that bad for the game, though?
Not only impact the way baseball is played and managed, but may also leave a lasting negative impact on pitchers' health as well. The term three true outcomes was first coined by Ronnie Jazurli in 2000 when he described the essence of baseball, the battle between the pitcher and the batter. Later, it would be used to describe heavy power hitters like Barry Bonds or Mark McGwire, who seem to hit runs in every other at-bat. In the years since, however, the term has taken on a life of its own, used regularly by sportscasters and analysts to define the ever-growing predictability found in the modern game. In layman terms, the phrase refers to the possible outcomes, or rather lack thereof, in an average at-bat. It implies that plate appearance will result in one of three outcomes: a home run, a base on balls, or a strikeout. Of course, there are countless possible outcomes to any plate appearance, but it's the growing percentage of at-bats that fall under these three categories that raise eyebrows. From 1990 to 99, for example, the average TTO percentage was 27.22, meaning that roughly 27% of at-bats result in either a walk, a home run, or a strikeout. In fact, in the history of Major League, the highest TTO percentage in a single season was less than 29%. That is until the 21st.
Wait, so if y'all like baseball, watch baseball, play baseball, have played baseball, is that a bad thing that the pitchers are getting better? Is that a bad thing, or like kind of confused on that part?
Century. Since then, there's been a consistent rise in strikeouts. TTO percentage broke 30% in 2012 and jumped to 32.3 just 2 years later. The stat would hit its highest mark in 2020 when more than 36% of at-bats ended in a walk, strikeout, or home run. In each of the last 5 seasons, the TTO percentage has averaged 34.84%, meaning that in today's game, more than a third of plate appearances end in one of these three results. What does this all mean though, and why should this be a cry for concern? It means that the game is growing increasingly predictable and growing less surprising, which, in many fans' opinions, translates to less entertaining games. Now, the biggest concern for pitchers in regard to velocity, however, is its correlation to player injuries. In a 2013 New York Times interview with Dr. Glenn Fleissig, a recognized leader—
No, it's crazy. It's so crazy how Ohtani played for the Angels and now he over with the Dodgers now. It's crazy.
In baseball pitching biomechanics, he shared his thoughts on the constant rise of velocity and said this: "When you ask about performance and velocity, I end up talking about medicine and injury. You can't strengthen tendons or ligaments per se. Certainly not as much as the muscles. The muscles overwhelm."
I really feel like if you're trying to throw your heart, I feel like sooner or later your arm is you're gonna injure yourself because you keep on using it. I'm telling you, the same thing with throwing the football every time. You feel me?
The
But it's
velocity
probably different,
itself is
though. I
a
don't know.
risk factor for injury. What Fleisig warns of is the ever-increasing pressure and tension pitchers place on their elbows regularly. As one can imagine, throwing 95+ mph pitches every day only increases the pressure put on these ligaments, which can lead to immediate and long-term damage. To put it simply, the human body is not built to throw something 90 miles per hour,
That's what I
and
see.
when it does,
So I'm saying, this can't. It's going to mess up.
it suffers. This is why there is a direct relationship to average pitch speed and the number of pitching injuries. Gabe Lax, in his USA Today article, Velocity at What Cost, points out that out of the top 64 fastest pitchers in 2023, nearly half of them have undergone Tommy John surgery. This is not only an MLB problem, it is a sport-wide epidemic. As teams and trainers continually emphasize the importance of velocity, there's an increase in players requiring reconstructive surgery, and not only at the major league level, but in the minors, collegiate, and even in high school levels. As a result of such dominant pitching, the MLB has taken steps to try and address this issue by implementing new rules to promote offense across the league. Along with baseball's natural resolution, the league offices have also taken steps to address the concern. They've widened the base bags, hoping to promote more steals and increase opportunity for small play ball. They've implemented a 3-batter minimum rule for pitchers coming into the game, as well as put limitation on defensive shifting, attempting
Wait,
to
3-batter minimum rule? What does that mean? 3-batter minimum rule? What that mean?
negate some of the statistical advantages defenses have previously taken advantage of. However, one of the biggest rule changes has also been one of the most controversial, particularly in the eyes of the pitchers. This rule, of course, is the infamous pitch clock rule. In hope of limiting the growing length of games while also increasing viewership, the MLB implemented a new pitch clock rule in 2023, and to many fans' surprise, it worked. In 2023, the average game dropped down to roughly 2 hours and 40 minutes, down more than 20 minutes from its average length a year prior. The decrease in length promoted viewership as well, as in-person viewership increased 5% across the league, and telecast viewership grew from 187,000 in 2022 to 304,000 last season.
I mean, that's good,
However,
though.
a premier
That is
flaw-
good, though, because baseball games do be long, bro. Watching a baseball game be so damn long, like, you feel like you watching a goddamn Transformer movie is 4 or 5 hours. That would
This
be
new
so damn long, bro.
concept is the decrease in recovery time between pitches. Putting pitchers on a shot clock restricts their time to recover between throws, further elevating the tension and strain placed on their elbow. While there is limited data to support this claim, the rule has only been in effect for a single season. Numerous players, including Rangers Max Scherzer and Braves Spencer Strider, have voiced concern about the pitch clock's effect on not only the number of injuries, but the severity of them. And this notion may be consistent with last season's statistics. While the number of injuries were on trend with that of the last 5 years, the length of time players spent on the injury list increased. Of course, the sample size is too small to tell anything definitive, but without a doubt, players are weary of its potential effects. One cannot fault the pitchers for performing well, as the improvements to their performance is among the peak athletic feats in modern sports. So, should the league address this issue? Baseball has a funny way of naturally working out its issues, and to some extent, it has already begun to do so in this instance. While strikeouts still outweighed the number of hits the last 2 seasons, the margin between the two stats has decreased, falling from 2,644 more strikeouts than hits in 2021 to 1,139 in 2022, and just
Okay.
994 more last season. This would
Okay.
imply that, at least to some extent, hitters are beginning to catch up with those on the mound. More importantly, it's
I mean, you got to get better. How is that a pitching problem if the pitchers are getting better? That means the hitter has to get better. Simple as that.
seems
Come
the
on now.
flamethrowers of the world
can't
are
complain about
finally
that.
beginning to reach
What?
the limits of their capability. Remember what Dr. Fleisig said about ligaments? About how they can't be built up like muscles can? Well, he's right. Fleisig, like most medical sports professionals, seem to believe that modern pitchers have already reached the limit of what the human body can perform. Sure, there will always be the DeGroms and Chapmans of the world that seem to have the extra 2 miles per hour that other pitchers can't seem to reach. But as a whole, Fleisig argues that the average fastball will not increase much further shoulder and speed because the human body is simply incapable of doing so. While pitchers still maintain the upper edge against batters, perhaps the tide is again starting to shift. In the meantime, however, fans should just take the opportunity to appreciate what they're seeing. Rarely in the history of the League of Baseball have fans been so fortunate to watch so many dominant pitchers take the mound on a regular basis. With veterans like DeGrom, Verlander, Scherzer, Kershaw, and Cole dominating lineups, along with young talent like Ohtani, Strider, and Manoah making strong impressions, it's hard not to enjoy the talent taking the mound every night. Sure, the scales will balance out eventually, but...
Yep. Anyways, let me know what you think down below, man. That's it for the video, man. I'll see you guys when I see you, man. We out.